She gave birth to the most fearsome monsters in human history and then disappeared without a trace. How did she get away with it? Hi, everyone. I'm your host, Kay, and today we're continuing our series of all new creepypasta stories for this Halloween season. This story comes from a subreddit user. It's titled The Mother of Monsters. Where did she go? The creature was all twisted and ugly. In the dream, it spoke to him, telling him to do horrible things like killing people and torturing them before eating their flesh. Richard seemed pretty traumatized by the whole thing, so Dad took him out back and showed him the truck that he was gone. Built him for his birthday. That cheered him up a bit, but he still seemed scared. I was so relieved to finally have some peace, but that didn't last long. I watched Richard turn into a cold, distant person who didn't care about anything. I knew he was capable of doing anything, but I thought it was because of Mom, not because of himself. One night, around 4 a.m., I woke up to screams. He will never get out alive. Dad passed away 2 years ago, and I still haven't told him what happened between me and Richard. I don't hate her anymore, but I'm terrified of her. Sometimes I think that I feel her presence behind me, but when I turn around, there's no one there. She was acting weird, like an animal ready to pounce. I ran to the entrance and screamed, "Mom, is that you?" But it wasn't her. It was Richard. His face was pale and sweaty, and he was holding a meat cleaver. He dropped the weapon as soon as he saw me and shouted, "Oh, God, you scared the hell out of me. Mom would never do that. Why would she want to hurt me?" He must have been lying, but all the therapists told me the same thing. They said that it was just post-traumatic stress from living with a mass murderer. I don't want to be here without Richard. He was the only one who understood me. Well, that's because he was the only one who knew our mother. They said that my mind was making up these dreams because it was subconsciously afraid of Richard. But I knew that wasn't true. These dreams didn't start when Richard began his killing spree. They started before that, when Mom and Richard were living together in our house. But what if he wasn't? After he left for the army, I kept having these recurring nightmares. It always involved Mom and a giant spider. She would turn into a massive arachnid, then devour my soul. If you enjoyed this story, please hit the like button. That would be monstrously helpful. Also, let us know in the comment section what you thought of the story. Did you like the ending? We have another story in this series that we're going to be releasing tomorrow. So if you're still with us, we'll see you then. Take care. Bye. Whenever I woke up from these dreams, I felt dirty and disgusted. I could unhelp but wonder what kind of things Mom and Richard were doing together that I didn't know about. He looked crazy. I wanted to ask him what happened, but instead I started crying because I was so relieved to see him. She looked at me for a moment, then walked out the door. Mom isn't here. She left me a note, but it doesn't say where she went. She just said that she had to go away for a while, that I shouldn't worry, that I should keep an eye on you. I'm scared, little bro. He held my hand and looked down at the meat cleaver. Do you think she's in danger? Should I call the cops? He shook his head. No, it's not the cops we need to worry about. There's something else coming. Something evil is coming. He stared off into space, then suddenly yelled, "It's all my fault. If I hadn't listened to her, none of this would have happened." I didn't think much of it. She must have gone to the store. I finished my dinner, then went to watch TV. He looked at me with sad eyes. She told me to kill you. An hour passed, then 2. Still no Mom. I called her phone, but it kept going to voicemail. I was starting to worry. Something must have happened to her. Still remember her face. Her eyes were brown and scary. Her hair was black and greasy, and her teeth were sharp and yellow. I remembered the day she went missing. I was the only one home. Richard was at school, and Dad was working the night shift. I wonder where she went after Richard became a mass murderer. Maybe she lives in another city, another country. Maybe she even lives among us now, but no one knows who she is. Sometimes I think that I see her face in the crowd, but every time it's just my imagination. I couldn't bear the look of disappointment on his face. He always told me that Richard was the best son and that I should be more like him. He probably thinks that Richard is in prison because of me. Apparently, the victim died in a similar way to how my brother had reacted in his sleepwalking incident. I confronted Mom and asked her if she had done something to Richard, if she had somehow created a monster. All she said was, "You should ask him," and walked away. I ran to Richard's room and found Mom kneeling over him. She looked up at me with wild eyes, then screamed at me to get out. I don't know what she was doing in there. I could hear her talking to him in a weird voice, whispering horrible things. I don't want to repeat what I heard. She was trying to brainwash him into becoming a monster. I think she wanted him to take revenge on our family. My mom gave birth to serial killer Richard Ramirez, but that's not even the worst part. Mom would comfort him and tell him that it was just a bad dream. Then she started punishing me because I tried to provoke her. Things continued like this until Richard turned 13. Then the nightmares stopped. Our relationship with our son was normal again. But what really scared me was the fact that she would leave our room while he was screaming and come back with blood on her hands and clothes. She would be quiet and calm, like nothing happened, and tell us that everything was okay, when clearly it wasn't. When he was arrested, they found out that my dad wasn't actually his dad. He had no idea he wasn't related to my dad or any of us. I still remember the day he came home from school and told us about the nightmare he had. For weeks after that, Richard would have nightmares. He'd scream in the middle of the night, shaking in bed. One time I asked her if she had killed someone, but she got angry at me for saying something so stupid. A few months later, Richard joined the army and moved out. I never told anyone about that incident, not even Dad. It was too embarrassing. No one would believe me anyways. Years passed. Then, one night I heard the news report about Richard being a suspect in a murder case. From then on, I hated her. I never understood why she chose to make Richard that way. To this day, I still don't know. That brings us to the present. Richard has been sentenced to life in prison. Okay, now, Richard won't hurt anyone anymore, but I can't stop thinking about what Mom did to him. Sometimes at night, I still hear her voice in my dreams, the same voice that I heard in Richard's room all those years ago. I was eating dinner when Mom came downstairs, but it wasn't her usual self. Just as I was about to call the police, I heard the front door open. He put his arm around my shoulder and led me to the kitchen. "What are you talking about? What did she tell you?" Well, that was disturbing, but of course, I didn't believe him. After Richard was arrested, I tried to get help for these nightmares. So now I'm here, sitting in this dingy motel room, wondering what Mom is doing and if she's ever coming back. I don't want to live anymore. Thanks for watching.